Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Sally Pinto and I'm from the Yonkers Newark Neighborhood Naturally Occurring Retirement Community. We launched back in January of 2020 and we're here to serve seniors 60 plus in Northeast Yonkers. We have lots of fun programs and activities, and we also have a lot of resources for you as well. Our programs include meditation chair yoga, body mind fitness, bingo, and any other programs that you might be interested, like arts and gardening. We have our resource specialist, Alexa Smith, who can help you with finding services and activities out there for you, as well as our nurse, Barbara Simone, who can help answer your health-related questions. We're here for you, we're here for our community, and we look forward to seeing you in our programs. Enjoy.
Hello, everybody. I'm Alexa Smith, the resource specialist with the Yonkers Newark. I'm here to help with application assistance, referrals for home delivered meals, and transportation services will be coming soon. We also offer Zoom activities and Zoom programs. And if you have any other questions or concerns, I'm here to help. Thank you so much and enjoy the program.
Welcome. I'm Barbara Simone, registered nurse. I recently retired from Westchester County's Health Department as a public health nurse. I am now here to try to assist you with any medical or preventive care issues. Enjoy this program, and I'm looking forward to working with you.
I always like to start off with sketching just to familiarize with some of the tools that we're just going to be doing. We're just going to use a basic number two pencil. I'm sure everybody has one of those. It's just a basic number two. Even if you have a nub eraser, like one of those nub erasers, you can use one of those if you want, or pink eraser. I suggest the one thing I suggest you always get is get a good drawing paper. Don't get anything too fibrous, too cheap. You want it because it will give you a much better rendering when you do shading and things of that nature. It's much better. Same with watercolor. When I teach watercolor, I would rather you sacrifice the brush and the color a little bit in the beginning stages, but get good quality paper because that really helps you with the formatting and everything. What I'd love to do with drawing, especially with a mixed group, actually with the schools I do it too anyway, is to show you a certain format by which I teach kids and adults to draw, and that is using a circle, square, triangle, cylinder format, which is not unusual that art schools use it. They use it also, but it's everywhere in the world. Everything is made up of these shapes, either combinations of these shapes or individually. Some of them have contour lines between them, make them into 2 or 3 shapes, which is interesting. So it gives you a chance to see the world a little differently. What we're going to do is do a simple landscape and show you how some of those shapes can integrate into the actual picture itself as we go along. Feel free to ask questions. I don't feel as restricted with more of an adult audience here, because when I teach the children, sometimes I have 65 children on Zoom, and it's a lot to deal with when they're screaming. So it's better in a nice, neat capacity to, if you do have a question or anything, I'll be more than happy to answer. I have no pretenses about anything. I just want you to relax and have fun, and if I can help you in any way, let me do that, even after the session, if there's questions or anything like that. All right, so since we have that, let's start with any landscape. After we get the tools out of the way, what we want to do, and that's what a horizon line is. A horizon line separates the sky and the land, or sky and water. So what we can do is, let's put a horizon line in here, and I'm going to go a little darker than you should. Doesn't have to be a straight line, okay? But it should be a line. Let me see if I can get this a little closer.
Yeah, that's
better.
And the way I break that up is very interesting. I try not to, if I can, break it up into halves. You try not to split your canvas or your paper.
right.
Try to do 1/3 or 1/3 or roughly that, in that case. It's just a good rule of thumb to follow. And then when you get really rich and you sell work, nobody cares what rules you follow anymore. They really don't. I could tell you stories about that. Not for me personally, but people I've known. Okay, so now we've decided that these two halves, and also, by the way, I'm going to show you a sample that we'll be using next week, the next time we meet, rather, to show you how we'll correspond each thing. But we're going to just do a free form. I see the sky up here, and I'd like to see some activity in the sky. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some clouds in. All right, we'll put some rudimentary clouds in. Now, clouds are made of water vapor. They're round. They're soft. So we want to show that in the picture. But we also want to show the concaveness of the actual sky. So the horizon being the furthest part away, this being the closest. These clouds, if they're all the same size, would naturally go smallest to largest, right? So let's do this. Let's start with the large cloud. I'm going to do little circular U's. Watch what I'm going to do here. Little circular U's. Can you see that? That's a big one. That's the top. That's called the zenith cloud, which is at the zenith of the sky. Okay. This is going to help you give depth to your sky rather than just a couple of one-level clouds, maybe in the sky foreground or the sky midground or something like that. This will show you. Now, if this cloud was as big as this cloud, we have to show distance. We can't make the same size because it wouldn't look right. So what we'll do is we'll make a small cloud, but we'll make it on the horizon. Okay. Roughly the same size. So now we have small cloud and we have the large companion cloud. So we have the two extents. And what we'll do is in between these, we'll make comparatively sizes based on the size of where they are in the sky. So here's the small background, the midground, and the foreground. Okay. Foreground is the sky, and right above is the zenith. Right? So let's do this. Let's put a couple of clouds. Now you don't have to make them look the same. Okay, here's a little bit larger. Here's a little larger here. Maybe I'll make it a little flatter. Up here, a little bigger. And this comes with practice too. You can see these in the sky, use them as models, take pictures. With digital cameras today, it's just wonderful. I used to take slides all the time, which were really good, but you had to wait for the processing and oh my goodness, Now it's just so you can see there, you see the depth we have here. See the depth? So now we have clouds that's very close to us, clouds that are very far, and clouds that are not so far away in the midground. Again, it's rudimentary, it's a start, but it gives you a feeling of how to create depth even in your sky, which is what you want. Now, since we're practicing here too, besides drawing, we're going to probably erase some of these clouds on the bottom of the foreground, of the background of the sky, because we want to put some features over like a couple of trees and things like that. So we'll use these, we'll catalog them in our brain, remember what the relationship of the lesson was, and then we'll try to do it again when you go home. You can try to do another scene like this. And I'll show you how to do a leaf canopy, a full leaf canopy, using the same idea as the clouds, but in a little point here. Okay. All right. Now, here we have our horizon. We have something moving. We have some activity going on here. We're going to have a light source. Remember, we have to have our light source, whether it's left or right. It's got to correspond with a little shading on the clouds either way. And then we have our ground. Now, one of the wonderful ways of inviting a person's view into your picture is to create a serpentine look, either a stream or a river or a road coming from the foreground into the background of the picture. All right. So let's do this. Let's take right from the horizon. Let's do this. Let's take a small, very skinny path. Okay. And now we've given depth to the foreground. We've given some depth. I hope you can see that. And the contrast is quite high here, so it's a little hard for me to get it the darkest. But I hope everyone can adequately see that. It's just, notice how much wider the path gets as it gets closer to the bottom or foreground of the picture. It's very important. So let's put some shading on our cloud. So we'll presume that, say, we're coming from the left here, the light. So what I'm going to do is, instead of putting my pencil directly down into the picture, I'm going to hold it sideways, and I'm going to put a little bit of graphite on the edge of the right side of the cloud. then take my pinky and just use a rolling softening feature to shade the cloud a little bit. See? Shade the cloud. Again, this is simplistic because there's a lot of features within the cloud that create shadow also. But I'm just going to do the edges for the sake of simplicity and understanding what direction light is coming from. So basically, it looks like that. See the one on the top there? It's got a little shadow underneath it, right there. And I use my finger just to blur it, give it a little bit of a blurring. And of course, if you ever looked at a cumulus cloud, you know there's so many. There's hundreds of little pockets of even tiny shadows that I love when I paint in oil to do and spend hours doing. But when you're doing quick drawing sessions, it's I would eat up a lot of time doing it. So this is good for further study to do. All right. I'll go to my next cloud, and of course, the light's coming from the left. So my shadow would be on a little bit of the right. So I'll take it, a little graphite down, and then take my finger, a little circular motion, rub it in like that. Light and shadows are so important, you know. When I teach the younger kids, the kids never want to do shadows. They think it's too time consuming, you know. They always come up with clever ideas like, well, my picture has no light in it.
How do you see it?
My picture has no light in it. All right. Well, let's do this one here. It's simple. Again, put it on very softly. If you get yourself into the art store and get a little packet of tortillions, which are little art, they're very small, very cylindrical. They're called blending sticks. And they come in a packet of 6. They come in different sizes for what subject you're using. And they're pointed on one end and stubbed on the other. And you can use those to do the blending. And they work really well, especially on a good piece of paper. I'm just using my finger here. It's a little crude, but you can get really soft, very, very nice touches of shading on these too. Right here. Now, remember, as you go into the distance with pictures, you're going to lose detail, okay? We're losing detail a little bit. So we're not going to see a representation of a shadow as strongly here, okay? As strongly here as you will here, right? So what I'm just going to do is just put a little bit in here and then just take my finger, rub it a little bit, rub it, okay? So it gives just that feeling a little bit of concaveness in your picture. That's all you need. A little bit of concaveness. And I always tell everybody, if your ambitions are to paint, especially in watercolor, you need to know how to draw. You have to draw because it really helps you render your subject. Well, you're going to do abstract. That's a little bit easier on you, but to render representational things, you need to learn how to draw different things. So really spend time getting this foundation, learn to draw, you know, and you'll see that your way will be, your path will be lined with roses better.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
Where
yeah.
Where do you go these days if you want to buy art supplies? All the art supply places I used to know of are long gone.
I know. I'm sorry to hear that too, because I started when Friedman's was strong, when Michael's was strong, AC Moore was strong. It's really a sad thing. The only thing I could suggest you do, Joan, is you have to look on the internet for some of the places. Amazon. Do you go on Amazon? Amazon?
Yeah.
Now there is Michael's. Michael is still a retail viable business. It's in White Plains.
Yeah. There are a few of them around. Yeah.
Yeah, they're not. I'm sorry to say they're not as good, not as great as AC Moore used to be.
Well, we used to have the most fabulous art supply places in the county. They're all gone.
They're all gone, and it's unfortunate.
That I know.
Amazon has completely consumed them up, and it's a shame. It really is a shame, you know. All right, so if I have any ideas or anything, I can always pass them on to Z, and she can pass them on to you if you wish that way. That's certainly a case. My website is mikesartworld.com, and it's really easy to get to. If you have anything relating to that, you can always get in touch with me or whatever. All right. So now that we have a sky and we have a landscape ground, let's put a structure here. Now, one of the great structures that we use is a square, just a square. So let's do this. Let's make a square like this, or a rectangle right here. And we'll make this into a house. Okay, very simple house. Very simple house. Our form is going to be more of a rectangle shape. Okay? As you can see, we use circular shapes for the edges of the clouds, which is good. Right? And really nothing else for any of the other shapes. We haven't used any triangles or cylinders per se, but we will use a triangle coming up very soon. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to designate the front of the house from the side of the house by making a line right there. Okay?
Oh,
Now you can make your house any size you like, of course. You know, it's totally up to you. Make it shorter, make a chalet. You like a little chalet? I wouldn't mind a chalet actually right now.
Get lost.
dream on.
Okay, right about here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a triangle. Right there, triangle.
Can't see what you're doing. Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, better.
Now it gives us a chance to use another form, which is our triangle. Okay, we have a triangle here.
Okay.
Now, the important thing is we want to make sure that our floors are flat. Otherwise, they're all going to go to one side. When they're serving dinner, they'll all go, oh, you know. So we have to make sure that the top roof is perfectly level. So let's do that level or roughly level, and then bring down our corresponding angle. Okay. This is a very important part right here. You got to get that, try to get that right in there if you can. That little part right there. What's fun to do to practice this is to do all neighborhoods. Put a whole street on, make your street, and then try to put the houses right next to each other and make them look correct in perspective. That's the key. And I remember the first time I did that, what an accomplishment that was. I was so proud of myself, you know, and have them look good. That's the whole thing. You know, you can put anything anywhere, but make it look good. Another story. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my eraser. And I have to edit a little bit here. Okay, I'm going to edit just a little bit. Let's edit. I'm going to edit this piece of this rectangle that was showing through right here. So that's no more.
Oh, this. Okay.
Rule you need to always remember too is that when you're drawing for yourself, always draw in a sketchy manner. By that I mean softly. I'm doing it darker for you so that you can see it, but you should always draw it sketchy because it makes your erasing easier. Makes it easier and you don't leave so many marks left over after you've done it. Okay. Now, what I want to do is I'm going to add a little what's called an eave. I'm going to add an eave here to complete the actual outline of the house. All right. So there's our eave.
Right-hand side.
There's our outline of our house. Three-quarter view is always very pleasing to the eye. It tends to be more than two dimensions or one. Although there'll be cases where you use all of them. But this 3-dimensional is really very attractive. It works really, really well. With this too, you can, so with more complication, more time is used. So I went through the part of not doing 1-point perspective here or anything like that. We can do that in another time if we, if we meet, we use a ruler and we can show you how the cabinet will line up with the backgrounds and stuff. But this we can just eyeball it. We just eyeball it. So, right, there you go. And let's put a chimney in. Just keep them warm during the winter, right? Otherwise they move out. Don't want any of that. So put a little chimney here. No, a little 3-dimensional look. Remember, every shape should have a little bit of a 3-dimension to it. So even the chimney should have a side piece. Can you see that side piece I put in there? That little side piece. That gives it depth. That gives it some depth.
Whoa. Okay.
So let's do this next. All right. What I want to do is I want to put something over here to give it a feeling of a compositional balance. All right. So over here, back over towards the horizon, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in an idea of a tree. All right. Now we're going to trespass over our clouds. Let me show you where it's going to go. Okay. Let me show you where it's going to go. Let me. Can you see where that trunk is? See how far away it is from our house, right? Here. And that cloud above looks like a foliage canopy of the tree, but not quite the look that we want. And I'll show you why. All right. Remember, the trunk of your tree is the sturdiest, so it tends to be the widest. It holds it down on the ground when the storm comes through, right? If it was the thinnest, poor things would be falling all over the place every storm, right? So we got to make sure always remember that the tree is the thickest on the trunk at the bottom where it comes out of the ground. Right. Now, so that you can see where I'm going to put the pattern of my foliage, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my pencil and I just want to remove some of the cloud that I did before above here, because I want to show you the shape of the actual foliage. Okay. You never lose practice. You always practice, even though you erase, doesn't matter. Okay, it doesn't matter. You're gonna go right over that again. See, I erased some of it, so now I have a nice working area, blank working area above, just like that. So far. Now, with these little clouds, I used a round shape. And by the way, this is a cylinder. This is a cylinder, okay? Cylinders are used for many purposes in nature, for the human body, the fingers, the neck, the toes, the arms, the legs, all kinds of stuff. So basically you use a cylinder for all that, right? And for a tree, of course, especially. That would work really, really well. All right, so here we have a nice blank spot. Now, what I want to do is I want to put a center trunk up. That's what I'm going to do. Put the trunk up way up as far as I want. Come back down, give it a little wiggle. And maybe over here. Now we're really much too far away to see any branches. Again, this is something that comes to you as you learn to see nature. You'll know how far you go really before you start seeing branches. You see mostly trunks and limbs at this type of distance. If you're putting too much detail in, it starts looking more novice. People know that you're not observing nature properly. Okay, so you want to make sure that you try to remember that. Especially trees are all over the place, so they're wonderful to do as models. Different types of trees, different seasons. Okay. So we have a characteristic little, like a pitchfork type thing here, right? A little fork like that. Right. Notice the variation in them too. The heights are different. Variation, very important. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do, and of course, it's much easier close up, but watch when I put these little stacks of foliage on, what I'm going to do is the little sharp points or edges on my cluster. I'm going to get this super close, guys, so you can see it. Okay.
Oh.
Yeah. Can you see the difference between that and a cluster of a cloud? See the points? It's an amalgam of thousands and thousands of leaves all clustered together.
Oh.
Now that wouldn't behoove us to draw each leaf because we would be here till midnight. But we can treat them as clusters. Which wouldn't be bad if we had some coffee and a couple of danishes, but basically this is very important to understand. The leaves will form sharp edges against the background. All right. The way we put them in is indicative of every type of species of tree. Each one of them has a little different shape and look to them, the way their leaves are clustered. And that takes study on your part to look at them, really study them the way they are. And they change during the season. So some of them get a little bit more open. Some of them stay pretty dense right up until the first frost. So you just got to work on it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cluster these together like so. This one on the top is the biggest, right? And he's got the most exposure to the sun, and it's going to help with the health of the tree. Like this. This back here and over here.
Oh, not again.
It's really pointy. Of course, it helps to have a nice sharp point. That really shows you the differentiation between the cloud and the tree. Yeah, but so that you don't get confused with the cloud behind it. Let me soften the edges of the cloud back there. Show you the true tree. Can you see it? There you go. Yeah, I treat them in distinct clusters, like this, very distinct clusters. And of course, they're not transparent. So once the limb goes into the cluster, you have to erase it or make it appear more faint. You know, if the cluster is thinning out or something like that, make it appear a little more faint. Right? But for this intent and purposes, for this little lesson, just concentrate on the shape. Think of the shape, the pointed edges. You know. These work really well in black ink with watercolor, and then putting a wash of color over the top of them. They really look beautiful. Look at that. One of my classes were my younger groups, teaching Scarsdale. I was showing them just like this once. And the little girl, little Julie said, "Mr. Mike," I go, "Yes, Miss Lori, what do you want?" She goes, "Do we draw your hand on there too?" I'm holding it. They know just the tree, just the tree. It was so cute, you know? Yeah. Yeah, this past year was such a chaos, but boy, I'll tell you, Bronxville really stepped up to the plate. We finished all the after school clubs on Zoom, and we had 12 weeks. So it was amazing how they did it. Amazing. Okay. Now, we have we have what's called a balanced drawing here, okay? A triangularly balanced drawing with an S shape or serpentine invitation inside. That lends itself to anybody who's a professional going, this person knows what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing. They're showing off different pieces of the picture, and they also are putting them right where they belong. Okay, very, very important. Now you can do things like modify the size of your walls of your cabin. If you want to make it more cozy, you can take your pencil and erase the bottom part. And to make sure that it doesn't look like a condo. Though there could be a condo out here. I don't know. I'm not sure, but yeah, it could be a condo. Or who knows, you know? Fort Lord and Taylor, they're probably going to build condos over there. I feel so sad about them leaving, but
It is sad.
I used to do Christmas cards and Mother Day cards for them every year for 10 years. I did. It was so wonderful to deal with. Yeah, I just shortened my cabin a little bit. See? Made them a little shorter. A little shorter. You see how that path looks like? You can come out of that house and then walk up that path and go right into the horizon, right up to the tree or the cloud up there. How's the satisfaction level? Is it fairly medium high or how we doing?
It's okay.
Pretty good so far? Yeah. Again, we're under a little bit of a time, but don't worry. I mean, you can always try to do this again on your own, at your own pace, you know, and then work on it and maybe improve it too, even a little bit more. Like I said, there are the things you can add to this. You don't necessarily need to add. Sometimes we get a little too busy with our drawings, especially in the very beginning stages of learning. We get them crowded, and then it just loses all the idea of the theory of it. But what we could do is dress up down here just a tiny bit.
Yeah.
Maybe we could make a path coming out to the path here. Notice it's almost horizontal, don't you? See? It's almost horizontal. They come out of the path. And of course, the exterior decorations up to you. If you want a bay window or you want things like that, certainly. But one of the nice things you can do is try to always remember to be consistent about your light. Now we have light also on the left side of this tree. Therefore, we should put a little shadow on this side. Cast it on the ground. Cast the shadow. And then we need to do a shadow on the right side of the cabin. We're going to cast the shadow on the right. So do it very, very easy, just like we did with the cloud. Right, so here we go. This will always be consistent. It will always look good. It's consistent, you know. It's in here. Yeah. I used to know a fellow who used to love doing trees. He did trees and forests and trees. And I told him one day, I said, Ron, you know, eventually they're going to put you away. You're going to go nuts. I finally found him one day. He said, I had to actually give it up because I was going nuts. You know, did these beautiful woodland scenes, beautiful trees, all of some like he was flying like a bird. He painted every individual leaf. It was just, what a work of art it was. Amazing. It was an amazing work of art. And this little shadow in here. And over here. And if you're ever concerned about your light source to reinforce it, you can always put a little small arrow in the corner of your picture to remind yourself where your light source is all the time. Just refer to that quick without looking at the whole picture. You remember that where it is, you know? It really helps a lot. But this is a really good foundational point where you can actually do some more creative stuff. You can add things to this, you can subtract things. You can add color to this. All right. We were thinking of adding color. Didn't know whether or not we would have time, but if you have color, you can always add color to this at this point, in this painting.
Hi, everyone. This is Z from Yonkers Public Library. Thanks so much to Sally Pinto and Alexis and Barbara from Newark. Thank you to our community partners, WJCS, the City of Yonkers Office for the Aging, Westchester County Legislator Ruth Walter, Friends of Crestwood Library, and Yonkers Public Library for making this phenomenal partnership. And we thank each and every one of you for being part of our wellness community. Be well, stay well.